good morning to the Swiss Business Hub Southern Africa, the field office of Switzerland Global Enterprise, which is helping Swiss and Liechtenstein companies to set foot in East and Southern Africa. We have a new format today that I would like to introduce you to. It's called Café avec, the French way to have a casual coffee with industry experts in the field that we like to introduce. Today, we have the clean tech sector, and it's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Pierre Voges to you, who has been the acting CEO of the Special Economic Zone in Atlantis, Western Cape, here in South Africa. Good morning, Pierre. If you would be able to introduce yourself briefly and give us an insight of what you're currently involved with.
Thank you, Daniel. My name is Pierre Voges. I was sort of brought in by the Western Cape government to look at the establishment of a bigger infrastructure company for bigger infrastructure delivery in the Western Cape, and the SEZ became a very serious priority to the Western Cape government. The license was awarded in December 2018. The president was in Atlantis to do so. And then there was pressure on us to establish the SEZ as soon as possible. It is a green tech SEZ, and with the whole emphasis now on renewable energy, it became a key priority for the Western Cape government and also for the national government to get operational as soon as possible. And during the course of last year and this year, obviously, we've put the company in place and all the building blocks in place, which we're almost there. I think the biggest achievement of 2020 was the negotiation of a 94-hectare land agreement with the city of Cape Town. That has been concluded now. The city of Cape Town will be contributing, well, they have contributed the 94 hectares to the SEZ company, which is a provincial state-owned enterprise. And the city of Cape Town, in exchange for that, will be a minority shareholder in the provincial state-owned enterprise. And I need to say it's the first time in South Africa where a municipality becomes a minority shareholder in a state-owned enterprise. So that's concluded. The sale agreement between the SEZ company and the city of Cape Town was signed on the 15th of December. And the shareholders agreement between the Western Cape government and the city of Cape Town was also signed on the 15th of December. So we have now one of the most important ingredients of any SEZ in place, and that is the land that is in place now. So I think from the 1st of April, the new financial year, this year, will probably be fully operational and beginning to accommodate the investors. There's a good pipeline, and we're already negotiating 2 leases with investors, and hopefully we will see some turning of land on that site from the 1st of April onwards.
All right. Thank you very much, Pierre. I appreciate this introduction. Maybe you have to track back a little bit, SEZ, Special Economic Zones, the one in Atlantis. Maybe we can hear a little bit what is that and what are core benefits for foreign companies that operate in Special Economic Zones.
I think the Special Economic Zone idea is not new in the world. It was very much used by China when the Chinese economy opened up to create a bit of a base or a catalyst for economic development. So when you're in a bit of a downturn or there's some skepticism around the economy, as we have in South Africa at the moment, then it's probably a very good approach to establish a special economic zone where a special focus is placed on a specific piece of land to create a good practice or best practice on that piece of land. So the approach was initiated by South Africa quite a while ago, and they have refined it and made it better over time. There's about 10 SEZs in South Africa at the moment. I think only 3 of them are doing quite well, and they've been around for a very, very long time, and we haven't got that time. Some of the SEZs that are doing well have been around for about 20 years already. They were called industrial development zones in those days, but it's the same thing as is envisaged in the SEZ Act, which was an act passed by the national government in 2014. So it's a simple approach of ring fencing a piece of land and then trying to enforce investment on that land through elements such as good administration, a solid administration through a state-owned enterprise, offering tax incentives, which is always good for any company's income statement, offering good infrastructure, not only in the SEZ itself, but also the adjacent infrastructure to ensure that goods can come in as quickly and cheaply as possible, and the manufactured goods leaving that SEZ through different ports as quickly and as effectively as possible. And then obviously we have another angle to our SEZ, which is a very popular angle in the world these days and in South Africa, and that is the whole green tech or green technology angle. And it's a very, very important topic in South Africa now. As you know, South Africa is battling with its energy provision, and we hope that this SEZ can fill a gap in the whole renewable energy process going forward. Not just renewable energy, but also manufacturing green products to establish the SEZ in Atlantis as a best practice test case, not only in Africa, but hopefully in the world, particularly from a green development or green technology point of view.
Perfect. Thank you very much for sharing that. I think that helps also the listeners to put that in perspective. Would you also be able to name a couple of initiatives from the Western Cape in the green tech or clean tech sector, which might be interesting for Swiss and Liechtenstein companies to be part of?
I think the most important one is normally municipalities in the Western Cape had to buy their electricity or power from the national provider of electricity. And there was always huge problems in that because prices increased in around 96, 97. South Africa produced some of the cheapest electricity in the world. I think at one point it was the cheapest power in the world. And that has changed from one side to the other side. It's now one of the most expensive electricity prices in the world. So the legislation has now been changed to enable municipalities themselves to generate their own power, to find ways to generate their own power. And that will obviously give any proactive, progressive municipality the opportunity to get investors into that municipality and also to determine their own price to the respective service providers or the users in that municipality. So we found that there was a very strong national determination of the electricity price and the ability to produce electricity. That has been devolved now to the respective municipalities to take their own initiatives in producing their own electricity at a price that they can negotiate with specific service providers. I think that to me in the last 6 months, 7 months was the most important development in South Africa around the provision of electricity, because any investment probably always look at a number of issues before they make that investment, and power provision or the availability of cheap, affordable power is always one of the key ingredients, particularly in the development of a manufacturing plant. And we hope to fix that. I think the Western Cape government is quite proactive and progressive in that. And I think you may find now with the ability of municipalities to produce their own power, may find a bit of a change in dispensation in the provision of electricity in the Western Cape.
Okay, thank you very much. And what kind of support would the Swiss and Liechtenstein companies be able to get if they were to be involved in collaborating with the Western Cape province or in the SEZ themselves?
I think that we want to see the SEZ in particular. Now, it's a very strong Western Cape project, particularly renewable energy. You want to see the SEZ not only being a base for green tech or green product manufacturing for the Western Cape, but also for the rest of South Africa. And I must say, I think it's important that you create an export base that also spread to the rest of Africa. I think our market is just too small to attract a Liechtenstein investor that only will export or make a product for the Western Cape. And even from a South African point of view, I think we're just too small to have that sort of demand created. I really think our focus would be on creating an SEZ that provides a manufacturing base for foreign investors to manufacture a certain green product, not just for the Western Cape or South Africa, but also for export purposes to the rest of Africa. So where we have power problems in South Africa, I think Africa does as well. And the better you can do in creating an export manufacturing base in Atlantis for South Africa and the rest of Africa, I think the better the investment scenario for investors. So I think, Daniel, it's fair to say that investors always look at a couple of things. They look at stable government. I think the Western Cape is known for having a very, very stable, progressive government. I think The performance of the Western Cape over the past 10 years proves that. Atlantis is a very strong industrial base already. There's already very strong industrial development for export purposes in Atlantis. It sits between two ports, the Saldanha port, which is now a bigger port, and the Cape Town port. And Atlantis has got very good internal infrastructure and also the infrastructure feeding into Atlantis from those two ports in the wider Western Cape. The other great advantage of Atlantis is that it's been there already for some time, for the last 30 years as an industrial base. And we hope to double that now or make it much bigger, triple that. It's got a very strong skills base. So normally any investor doesn't want to go into a long training program before they get skilled people on board. Atlantis also has a very strong artisan type skills base that can be tapped into. So we believe the stable government, the good infrastructure in Atlantis, the proximity to two big ports. Saldanha itself, Saldanha port is the biggest natural port in Africa, actually. A strong skills base. And all those factors, I think, will give the investor some idea that they can have a profitable investment in Atlantis. If one takes the tax incentives and the green tech type backdrop to it, I believe with that mix of factors into that sort of mathematical equation, I think it may just provide some appetite for Liechtenstein investors to look at Atlantis with a serious view.
Excellent. Thank you. Fantastic. And thanks for sharing this information for Swiss and Liechtenstein companies throughout your answering of the questions. I think here we would like to give it back to the companies. If that information is interesting to you, you like to explore more, please get either in contact with us directly on the Swiss Business Hub Southern Africa side, with Switzerland Global Enterprise, or also with the Special Economic Zone in the Western Cape, Atlantis itself. Thank you very much and have a great morning.